it gets back to marketing 101 and why I think it works for you. And you kind of answered it a number of different ways. You know, it's like, yeah, there might be a bubble, but at the end of the day, you know, it's like I think about what you're doing. It's not about just getting people to use your brand. You're trying to get people to believe in your brand, because once they use, you know, if they just use your brand and if we're happy with that, you walk away. But if they believe in your brand, despite the bubble, despite us trying to work, get more people outside, I mean, that's the pot, you know, at the end of the rainbow, and that's what you're doing. And I think a lot of brands forget about that. And all of these things you're doing are kind of building that belief in that community that people want to be a part of what you're doing here.
Yeah, I hate to use the term building blocks, but it is. And, you know, sometimes you go, why are we doing this one thing? Oh, okay, because it's part of the entirety.
Welcome to another edition of Over a Pint, where we focus on the fast and ever-changing world of marketing told through the eyes of three industry veterans, that being us. No theory here. This is real-world, practical experiences shared by those that have been there and have done it. And most importantly, that also includes the guests that we bring on our show. So grab a pint of your favorite brewski or whatever it is you like to drink and join us right now. Once again, I am joined by my co-host, Brian Meehan, president of Celtic.
Cheers.
Matt McCool, business development director at Acedia. And I'm Kurt Lingo, partner and vice president at Celtic. And I see everyone's tipping their glasses. We're going to get to that in a second, but I just want to say this. Fasten your seatbelt. I think we might get it today, all right, with our guest. I am pumped. I've been pumped once we found out we were able to secure Rob Coughlin as our guest. He's with Granite Gear. It's going to be fun. Rob, welcome and happy birthday to you. And I love your jersey.
Thank you so much. I couldn't come on this wonderful show without honoring Celtic, not only with the shirt, but with the glass.
Oh,
nice.
What do you got in there, Rob?
I'm drinking this stuff from Ireland called Jameson.
Heard of it?
Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
It's a good beer.
Is it?
Strong, no stronger than Guinness.
Brian, what do you got?
I've got Raised Grain Brewery right here, I believe in Waukesha.
It is.
And it's their black walnut. So I'm going heavily leaded this afternoon. Getting ready for our conversation.
What do you got going?
I'm going through, which I'm loving, on the Cream City Bricks, the cream ale. It's been delicious, man.
Okay. And
Yeah.
If you haven't figured it out, I grabbed the same thing Brian did from the agency fridge. We have a lot of it, but I'll tell you, it's good. It's the black walnut, your imperial stout. It is tasty. I highly recommend it. Raised Grain Brewery Company, Waukesha. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Salute.
Rob, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. So I got to tell you, so we had a chance to meet Rob for the first time a few years back at the Outdoor Retailer Show, where our agency co-hosted a party with Granite Gear to support the Ice Age Trail Alliance and also the Groundskeepers program, which is a cool program that I know Rob will tell us about. And boy, did we have fun. The theme was, you see that? Brewski for a trail ski. And we had beer, we had sausage, we had cheese, all in from the Midwest, because you know what? That was us, all Midwestern brands coming together to support some great causes and have a party. And it was a lot of fun. And that's what got the flavor for the first time of Granite Gear. I like that word flavor. I know you guys use that. And also the flavor for Rob. So Rob, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a blank canvas right now and briefly paint a picture of who you are, your background, and your role at Granite Gear. Go.
Here we go. You ready? How many seconds do I got? Well, real quickly, just to talk a little bit about who I am and how I got to the point where I am in my career. I was born 51 years ago from today. And I was actually born just outside of New York City, but when I was like a year or two, we moved down to Miami, and I pretty much spent my next 35 years down there. and then finally moved up to the Midwest in 2005. I've had a very unique path to where I am now. I don't even have my bachelor's degree. I barely went to college. I started basically in my industry, which is bags, in a luggage company called Travel Pro, who's the owner, who was a pilot, invented upright rolling luggage. And I started there working in the repair shop, repairing bags, really learning quite literally a lot of time the nuts and bolts of the product. I grew pretty quickly in that role to when I was age 27 or 28, I think. I was director of operations. Spent a lot of time in factories, working, with our QC department, just learning the construction of, not just soft-sided bags, but also hard-sided bags, being in the luggage industry. Eventually was pulled into sales and marketing by a new CEO or brought in, and that's what brought me onto this side of the business. In 2005, I was recruited by a company called High Sierra. They were up here out of Vernon Hills, and worked for them for 7 years. We did an amazing job with that company. The growth was phenomenal, and we sold the company in 2012 to Samsonite. So had an opportunity with Samsonite, but it really didn't fit my personality. We'll get there later as far as the personality part. But so I had an opportunity to join a group of people who were in the process of buying Granite Gear. We finalized the purchase in 2013, July or August. And it's been a trip since then. I love this. I mean, I'm making less money than I've made in probably 20 years, but I've never been happier in my work. I really get to express myself. I'm at that point in my career where I really feel comfortable with any kind of product, and that really makes it easier for me to do what I do on the marketing side and also the sales side.
That's awesome. Rob, I like to use the word flavor. And again, I'm going to go back to that because it's we joke in our business. It's like, I think you've got to be good at what you do. Like, if we're an ad agency, we got to be good at what we do. Otherwise, we're not going to be around. And I like how you said it in your videos. Like, anyone can make backpacks, but you got to be good at it, right? Or you check the box. But there's also something to be said about, that connection and that personality of the brand and the connection it has with its customers. And I think Granite Gear does have a unique flavor to it. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about, your brand and what makes it unique, and maybe why a lot of users identify to it and want to be loyal.
So let's start with the history of the company. Granite Gear was founded in 1986 by Jeff Knight and Dan Cruikshank, who were the people we purchased the company for. Dan is still involved a bit in the design and development. He owns a bike shop up in Two Harbors, Minnesota called Spoken Gear, which if you get a chance to get up there, it's amazing. It's an incredible bike shop and coffee shop. It's really cool. So again, started in 1986. We took over the company in 2013. Along between those years, we made a lot of different products. We made dog product. We made hats. We made gloves. Of course, we always made bags. And through the years, Dan and Jeff realized the bags is where their skill set was at. It's not just the bags, it's the packing accessories as well. But it's, we kind of left the gloves and the hats and the dog stuff behind and concentrate on what we knew. And obviously, when I came to the company, what I know is bags. What we're known for right now is our ultralight through hiking bags and our ultralight sacks. We do a lot of portage product, which is blowing up right now. But I think more importantly, what this brand is about is it's about our message. I think, especially today, who our customer base is, they buy a lot of our product because they like what we're representing out there. And, working at a smaller company with, we only have 20-something employees here, it enables us to really express ourselves in a lot of our beliefs. We're in other companies, we would never be able to do that. And what I'm talking about there is supporting especially just a lot of marginalized people out there and getting more people into the outdoors. As our mission statement, as I say, we make kick-ass, high-quality, ultralight through hiking and camping gear, while, and I'm not saying this word for word, so while also getting unrepresented communities out on the trails. And that cool. means a lot of different things. And the next question is, well, how are we doing that? Right? May 6th, last year, it was a day ago last year, we launched our Hot Minute, which is our weekly Instagram event.
Yep.
Our first event was with Teresa Baker. I don't know if you know who she is. She's founder of Outdoor CEO Pledge and the In Solidarity Project. Really a heavy hitter on the DEI side on the outdoors. We had her on first, and we had a couple episodes, and then we had the George Floyd murder happen, and we took some time off, we felt. But then we came back and we did it every week, and it can be anything. Sometimes, one time, it was just me and our head designer playing Wingspan. Does anybody know what Wingspan is?
No.
It's a great board game, and you need to get into it. Apparently, I'm not into it, but our head designer is really into it. But, we bring on people from, like yesterday, we had on a woman named Dara Blackwater, who is a Navajo indigenous woman. She recently hiked the Colorado Trail, but she also recently got her law degree and a telecommunications degree from University of Arizona. And, her focus and her whole mission in life is getting tribal spectrum sovereignty. And I don't know if you know that it has to do with the digital divide, and a lot of these, I believe it's 60% of people living on tribal lands right now still don't have access to the internet. And obviously, especially in the last year, and I'm not meaning to just concentrate on this one issue, but within the last year, the digital divide has really opened up and shown its teeth as, you get a lot of these young kids, whether they're on a tribal reservation or in the south side of Chicago, they don't have Wi-Fi in their house. A lot of times they're going to places like McDonald's to get Wi-Fi to do their work, which, obviously then you're eating McDonald's all the time, and that's no good. But what I'm trying to say is, we don't have a huge following. We got about 61,000. We've lost a lot. We've gained a lot of it. We've had some events where we've lost hundreds of people right after. And, we're willing to risk that. We have a message, and we're going to stick to that message, and we're not going to compromise from that. I think if we start doing that, then everything we're doing becomes unauthentic, if you follow me.
You know what I find? Yeah, you are, Rob. You know what's funny is when we got into this industry many years ago, if you ask somebody what the brand was, they just talk about their product. This is products we make. This is what we do. It is completely transformed in the outdoor category where, we could spend the whole podcast and not even touch a backpack. It's, what is your company doing? How is it relating to those people out there that are maybe marginalized? What are you doing to make our environment better? That seems to be the conversation, and it's changed from product to more of, these things that really get you jazzed up about making changes.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting because when we took over the company, our whole marketing goal was highlighting people who are going to Antarctica. I mean, these are good people, Lonnie Dupree's and Eric Larson's of the world, or or Trauma, Justin Lichter, who's one of the most accomplished hikers in the world, hiking the PCT in the winter. And again, I mean, although I came from High Sierra, and some people could say, well, you went to the outdoor retailer show, you're in the outdoor industry. We really weren't. Especially compared to Granite Gear, which is core.
Yeah.
But even then, what we learned is that that imagery or that content of somebody, standing at the South Pole or in Everest or hiking 8,000 miles in the winter doesn't resonate as much as it used to. It was all about Like you said, product. I think from that, it is the product. It's the product of, hey, this can go to the South Pole. It can take you anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
Especially in this industry, and I think eventually, hopefully with every industry, the consumer has, and you know this better than I do, you guys are marketing professionals, but the consumer today, especially when you're looking at Gen Zers and maybe the younger millennials, as far as what we're seeing, is they need to have that cause. Mm-hmm. They need to know that they're not only buying a good product, because we make kick-ass product. That's never been our problem. However, the message wasn't truly resonating with the majority of people out there. And I think especially as the years go by, that becomes more and more important.
So, Rob, let me hang on that for a minute. You know, when I look at outdoor gear and companies, and let's take like a North Face, right? Yeah, they sponsor all kinds of Everest hikes, and they're doing, I mean, they're known, they've got a solid rep, right? This is a heavy duty, right? But only a few people are going to hike Everest. And the majority of people wearing North Face jackets are guys like us, just walking around.
Going to Starbucks.
Yeah, right. And I got to be ready in case I get carried away to Mount Everest. Is that a pivot that you guys are looking at? It's saying, look, we've got the hardcore gear, but we've got to show it more lifestyle. Is that something that you guys are looking into, or
well,
or
you know,
no?
We are looking into lifestyle. All right. So however, it wasn't a pivot to lifestyle as much as it was a pivot to your weekend warrior. We're known as a through hiking brand, which is great, but can I say holy shit?
Yeah.
Okay. Holy shit. It's the niche of a niche market. I mean, you can stand in front of a room of 100 people and get hands of how many people own, you know, a technical multi-day pad. You're going to get one person that has their Osprey. But now we're talking about through hikers within that industry, so it becomes incredibly narrow, as you can understand. However, our product isn't overpriced. I mean, our number one bag, which I just showed you, is the Crown. It retails for $200. Yeah. And there's a reason behind that. When we went to Crown 1 and Crown 2, that $200 price point was important to us. Because so many of these young people that are going on the trails, especially today, that are just being forced in the outdoors because they can't get jobs or whatever. You have, I don't know where I was going with this, but
kind of the lifestyle consumer versus the hardcore, you know, backpacker.
Sure. So, you know, the thing about our product is it's not overly expensive, and if it can hike the PCT or the CDT or the AT or the Ice Age Trail, it's going to be able to do anything anybody else wants it to do. And I think, you know, that's been the pivot for us in that we know the through, and listen, it's a very competitive market within the through hiking industry because you bring in a million cottage brands that you won't find in the REIs of the world. So we're battling those, but they tend to be higher price points. So, you know, again, we're making this gear that's good enough for those people on the trail. It's going to be good enough for anybody who's going on that weekend hike and camping trip.
Yeah. I think you're so smart to position yourself that way, because if you look at the hardcore, like you said, it's a very finite audience. It's you have them, that's great, but it's not as broad-based. Once you start to go to someone who's going for a hike on the Ice Age Trail for an hour or two, that audience becomes humongous. And now whenever I look at any type of outdoor research or magazines or media, it's really about inclusion. You know, what are we doing to invite African Americans, you know, to camp and come in? What are we doing with women? What are we doing with Indigenous people? It's really that broader based audience that I think you're well positioned to target.
Yeah, and you know, the LGBTQ plus community, we're very active there's some great organizations that we support. The Venture Out Project is one that comes off the top of my head, but also Transcending 7. Erin Parisi was going to be, I think she's climbing Everest this year or next year. She's going to she's already done a bunch of them. The 14 highest summits of the world, or 7 highest summits of the world, that is. But yeah, I mean, when we started our whole DEI initiatives, it goes back to 2016. In 2016, we just felt we needed to be a lot more vocal. You spoke a little bit about our groundskeeper program earlier. We have our which is our ambassador program, which we have this year. 20 people out there on trails, picking up trash, doing the right thing, educating. We in 2016's crew, we made it much more inclusive, and we've continued to do that, and that takes a lot of work. You know, when you're doing an ambassador program and you send out like applications on OIA or whatever, I mean, you get 1 million white people. And I'm not saying I hate white people, just some. Where was I?
You know, we face the same challenge, though. It's even in our industry, is you want to diversify more and invite more people into the tent, so to say. It's hard to find people sometimes in our industry. And I know that was the case with the outdoor industry. It was very white, like you said, and very male driven. And then it started to open up more, where it was, you know, women being invited in, and then all these different groups, which is nice to see. But it is hard to diversify in some instances.
It is, you know. Hiring a designer in this industry is so not just white, but male dominated.
Yeah.
You know, when you post an ad for a new associate designer, it is it's just amazing that we don't get a more inclusive or broad spectrum of candidates out there.
You know, Rob, one thing as we're talking about this on the heels of that, you know, the one word that comes to mind, and for me, is when I see some of the hot minutes or whatever it might have been, the empathy really is a word that just keeps resonating with me, and that's how I kind of look at some of what you're doing. And I was watching a hot minute a while ago, and it was with one of your designers, and you were featuring a bag. And what I loved about it, again, is you're building product that's going to fit a variety of people in different sizes, you know. And I think I joked with you prior to this interview saying, here are some things we might touch on, but how many, I mean, we laugh, but I mean, come on, we've seen a lot of advertisements, there's a lot of messaging, everyone looks perfect. That's not the reality. That really isn't the reality of a lot, and if not most of the people that are out in the on the trails or whatever it might be. And I will say this too, I know what you're saying with that hardcore vertical audience. You know, you can get a pretty hardcore vertical experience on the Ice Age Trail, up in the Boundary Waters, Superior Hiking Trail. And you know what? It might start off as the Weekend Warrior that you refer to. Yeah. Who goes in there? I don't know. The one thing that struck me about you and your brand, and I want to talk about this a little bit, or have you explained, a lot of pride. And I can hear that in your voice. You describe your company, what you stand for. But when we met the first time, we talked a little bit about just the fact that, you know what? Our brand is from the Midwest, and I'm really, really excited about that. I'm not on the West Coast. I'm not on the East Coast. I am Minnesota, Midwest proud. And you know what? We know the outdoors here too. I mean, that's a big part of your brand. I mean, just owning your backyard.
Absolutely. And you know, it's so funny you say that, Kurt, because I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people at outdoor retailers, or they're like, you know, Granite Gear, I don't know much about you. Where are you guys out of? I'm like, oh, we're out of Two Arbors, Minnesota, on top of Lake Superior. And they're like, oh, what's up there? And I'm like, you know what? There's nothing up there. Never go. But no, seriously, is that you get this, like, and there is that, you know, the highbrow outdoor, you know, industry people who are like, if you're not from the Rockies, Pacific Northwest, or California, or maybe New Hampshire, you're not, there's no other outdoors out there, which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure everyone here has been up to northern Minnesota or the UP and know that country, and it is, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't get as big as the Rockies, but the Boundary Waters is my favorite place in the world. And everybody that I bring there that, you know, are from out west and barely heard of it, and they go on this trip and they're like, oh man, I just didn't get it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that is wilderness, Superior National Forest, the Superior Hiking Trail, and then all the way up through the Boundary Waters up into Quetico in Canada. You want wilderness, that is some serious wilderness.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of wilderness in this country out there. People don't know, including Alaska, the Boundary Waters is the #1 visited wilderness area in the United States.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Wilderness area, because there's not a lot of them. That's what it is. You're like, oh, how's that? There's just not a lot of wilderness areas anymore.
Wow.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, Rob, we run into the same thing. You've known us for a few years. We're an ad agency proudly based out of Wisconsin here in Milwaukee. We work with a lot of outdoor brands. We've got a lot of outdoor experience. We love the outdoors. We're hikers. And you know what? That's happened to us too once in a while. Some folks just don't want to talk to us because we're not here or there.
You're not in Boulder.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. You know, from a marketing perspective, you know, looking back, you know, obviously you got a lot of experience in sales and marketing. Maybe talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the industry that you think from a messaging perspective. What's working? What's not working? What are the things that just drives you crazy when you see a brand doing something? You're like, what on earth are you thinking? And then talk to me about the things that you think are like, you know what, right on, spot on. You guys get it.
Well, I'm glad you asked me this question because last week, a major backpack brand that I'll call Osprey, they did and I love the people at Osprey. Their director of design used to be our director of design, so I don't love him that much, but I love him. But they had an Instagram post with, I would say, a plus-size woman with a day pack on, and it was absolutely clear that day pack didn't fit her. And it was from the back. You can see that it had a hip belt that was just dangling, and you could tell that hip belt was not going to fit that person. And I went, oh. And I started reading the comments, and everybody already was like, great, Brando. Why don't you now start making packs for those people? And that's something we identified a couple of years ago, and we were lucky enough to launch this year. And I think that's what the pack you're talking about. So real quick, I just want to show you this pack and why it's been doing so well, why we're getting all this press. And it's really been our best launch, even with the Crown and the Blaze over the last 4 years. So whenever you walk into your REI, if you go, hey, you know, I'm going to go hike 300 miles of the Ice Age Trail, I'm going on a weekend. The first thing they do is they go, okay, let me measure your torso length. You know, what is it? The L7 down to the what do you call the iliad crest? But if I just measure you up and down, does that really tell me anything about your body? Yeah, it can tell me how tall you might be. But what about the width? What about your hips? So with this pack that we're doing here, we have the torso adjustment so you can dial in that length, but also we have width now. So we have a normal and a wide setting. Not only that, we have our world famous Refit Belt. Okay, and this was one of the greatest things we've come up with in the last 5 years. So we sell these packs to all of these through hikers. Well, you know, they're hiking a lot of times 300, 3,200 miles in a summer. What happens there as they start to hike, they lose weight. So what we were doing 5 years ago was as they moved through the trail, we would send them a smaller and a smaller and a smaller belt. So that just wasn't good for us, and it wasn't really good for the customer either. So this is our Refit Belt. So it's a one-piece belt, right? But now, and this is the regular, this will fit up, and this is the women's regular, it'll fit up to a 24-inch to a 40-inch waist. The unisex is a 26 to a 42, but now also we have an extra wide belt that goes from a 36 all the way up to a 54-inch waist.
Wow.
And
adjust as you go.
Adjust as you go.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not just you're losing weight through your hike. You come off your trip, you start eating ice cream and drinking walnut beer, and you put back on that weight. And you know what? we don't have to keep sending out belts, which is, it's not cost efficient. It's not environmentally friendly. We're creating more product. We're shipping more product. Now we cut that all off. And again, so that's, what we've identified. And we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we look at it through the lens of BIPOC people, LGBTQ plus, or any underrepresented community out there. And you realize that there's another element to that, and it's a huge one. No pun intended. And that's body diversity.
Yeah.
We see so many people out there that are basically getting their packs rebuilt for them because they just don't fit their bodies. Yeah. So again, with this pack, where you have especially the weight, because the waist belt, I'm going to drop a little knowledge on you. Yeah. The waist belt's the most important part of your pack. That's going to take 70 to 90% of the load. Okay, so that has to fit. So it's been a tremendous hit. It's selling well. It's obviously a good time to be in the outdoor industry. We'll talk about that. It's selling well, and people are getting it. It's getting talked about a ton.
Yeah.
There's another company that came out with some plus sizes packs this year, and I'm not going to name them, but they're a big one like Osprey. And they came out with this whole press release. We're doing plus size packs. Well, you can't get them. They ordered such small quantities that you can't go out and get one of those bags anymore. Already, spring, we're in first week of May.
Yeah.
Because they love the message, they just didn't want to commit the dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
wanted to tiptoe into it and see how it goes.
You have to go all in. Because if you have the message and the pack doesn't fit right, or you don't have the stock, you're not inclusive. Everything you're trying to do is now out the window.
Right. You know what's interesting, Rob, is years ago we worked with a sleeping bag brand, and when we started with them, they called them Bubba bags. It's one size fits all, and it's designed for a dude that's 350 pounds, right? And it was like women come in, it's like the bag is too big, there's cold spots everywhere, they can't sit it down to get a tight fit. And then a few years later, I'm talking to the designers, and it's like, wow, what's this mummy bag here? They're like, well, we're shaping it around the hips and providing a bit more room for women, more room around the chest, smaller sizes. And that was when the light went on and was like, okay, you know what? One size fits all just doesn't work anymore. Not just in outdoor, but anywhere. Just think about any product that you purchase. It's highly targeted to that end user, at least when the good companies are doing it, is they're designing things for the individual user, not a one size fits all.
Absolutely. And, as an industry in the bag, multi-day pack, we haven't been doing that. We really haven't done a good enough job in making it accessible to everybody. Okay. And another thing with the barriers to the outdoors is price. And I talked a little bit about it earlier. It's so expensive. That's the number one barrier for anybody getting the outdoors is the price. Forget about being able to get the time off and do some of this stuff. I don't know how that works. I've never got 3 months off in my life. But more importantly, you have a lot of these kids who are, maybe coming out of the college, they don't have a lot of money, got some graduation money. And really what they say is, you have to spend $4,000 in gear to hike the Appalachian Trail. $4,000 in gear.
Wow.
We could buy cars when we were young.
Right.
So that's why it's so important that we hit certain price points. There's no use selling a bag for $400 if the person can't afford the sleeping bag, tents, stove to put in it. And as we know, everything's really dialed into grams. And that's important to us. Weight is very important to us. But the last thing we'll ever do is sacrifice durability to get that weight down. And you have a lot of companies out there doing it. Ultra light packs. Well, you better know how to pack it and take really good care of it. And these are incredible bags out there for higher price points. But again, that the price barrier is something that is a difficult concept when you're in business, of how to balance that with you know, with also, hey, you can get kids, I hate to say that, people who, you know, see Granite Gear Crown at $200 and see a Z-Pack or Hyperlight at $400, and they go, well, I'm hiking 3,000 miles, so I should probably get the $400 pack. But really, what you're getting there for your extra, or for your twice the money, is a few ounces less. And when you have 40 pounds on your back, what's 2 or 3 ounces? So there's a lot of people in my company who be like, no, we're all about the weight. Yeah, we are. You have to be to play in the through hiking market, but we're not going to sacrifice that for durability. Matter of fact, when we went from one generation to a next generation of our number one pack, we put a little more weight into it to get that durability up.
Rob, I'm really interested in how this is in such a competitive space. What's the path for growth for you guys? How do you
I was hoping you could tell us.
Paint Sure.
What's the path for growth? Okay, that's a conversation where I think we have to talk about the current outdoor industry and the state of business out there, right?
Yeah.
So the outdoor industry.
Out of that glass, by the way.
What's that?
You look good drinking out of that glass, by the way.
Yeah, I look good drinking out of any glass. This is the best glass I got. It's a Chelsea glass.
Chelsea, there you go.
I was drinking out of this one yesterday.
I bet you.
What were we talking about? Okay, let's talk about the outdoor industry. And everybody's doing great, right? Especially when you look at the cycling industry, which I know you guys are dialed into. Paddling, holy shit.
Yeah.
Try to get a kayak or a canoe right now. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Boundary Waters, their permit requests are 4 times over what they were 2 years ago in a normal year. That's all great. We're selling tons of product, and I am very positive about our growth. I mean, we had really started to make some steps before the pandemic, and I don't want to talk about this time last year. That set us back a little bit, but we seem to pick right back up. And again, we're getting talked about more than we've ever been talked about before. More, I mean, our engagement, our clicks, our website visits are through the roof.
Rob, is that something that you guys are fueling, or is that just you're just riding that wave?
No. Well, there's a wave there, but we're fueling it as well.
Okay.
There's no doubt we're doing and saying and shipping the right thing right now. I will tell you this though, there's a bubble, and you know, it's like any industry, you know, you get it in and all of a sudden it just takes off and you think, oh, this is going to last forever. We both look like, you know, we all look like we've been around for a while. And we know, you know, the ebbs and flows and the absolute, sometimes a just chaotic retail world we live in. What I see now, and this is real-time trending here, what I see in the last week is I see an industry that's being flooded with inventory. The inventory was not there last year. Companies like us, and we did as well, you know, we got to the end of April, and we're like, stop all orders. We get to the end of May, we're like, ship, get as much product as we can. And, you know, we sat there for a good 4 or 5 months at the end of last year doing terribly because we had no product. That being said, this year is by far the best year in the company's history thus far. However, I feel it, I hear it, you know, talking to my sales manager, talking to some customers and other manufacturers out there. There's a lot of product in the market right now. So I believe that bubble is not going to completely implode, but you're going to see a softening there. And that's when it's on. You know what I mean? Okay, we're all riding this wave, as you said. But when all this product comes back And there's gonna, I mean, we all know Econ 101. There's, the supply and demand. Once that supply is up and that demand starts to ebb, then it's gonna really show. I hate to use men for children, but it's really gonna show the. So I edit that out. It's really gonna show what your brand stands for, and that. Especially through this last year, because this last year has been, besides the pandemic, I mean, everything else that has gone into this last year. You being in Wisconsin, you know it so well. Us being a Minnesota company, we know it so well. I feel that Granite Gear is positioned as a brand. You like to say flavor. We use the word empathy. That's the word we use. I mean, we are massive empaths here. Massive. Everything we do here, and I am not fucking bullshitting you, everything we do, we look through the lens of diversity, equity, inclusion, getting more people out there, and how is this product or this program going to help push this industry forward, because it's not all just empathy, and it is kind of, but if you're a business person and you look at the demos, you look at the demographics for the next over the next few decades, if the outdoor industry does not get more people that don't look like us four out there, we're going to be missing out. This isn't just a matter of morals. This is a matter of financial stability at the end of the day. I think you're going to take this step in this industry, or you're going to be left behind. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, Pat, to dovetail off your question, I think what's most concerning is, beyond diversity and inclusion, is young people that are just on the couch playing video games. I know that's been a huge concern for the shooting sports industry, the outdoor industry, is, how do we continue to fuel growth when fewer and fewer people are going outdoors? And they're dealing with massive obesity issues and nutrition issues. I think that's a thing that everybody, it's going to affect the entire industry, is how do we not even get people that look different from us, but how do we get younger people that just, are on the couch playing the video games? I think that's a concern for the future.
It is. It absolutely is. And your points are incredibly valid. You talk about the future health of our society here in this country. And I think that extends not just to physical health, but mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Miami. I grew up fishing, Biscayne Bay, the Everglades, but I never camped. You just don't camp in South Florida. And until I really learned, about true wilderness. I mean, I love the Everglades. I really do. And I had some amazing times there, but it still doesn't hold a candle to me, to the boundary waters, that is. And when you know about that and that natural therapy, we all come from the woods, all of us. And there's something we don't even realize happening when we go back there. And it's a sad thing that everybody doesn't have the opportunity to do that, right? Yeah. Instead, if they're lucky enough to get, mental, therapeutic, medicinal help, they're giving us pills. They're, and I'm not saying that's not important, because it is in a lot of cases, but it's just a shame that the vast majority of this country doesn't get the opportunity to get that therapy. Yeah. Because that's all of ours, right? That belongs to all of us. And unfortunately, it's not that easy. I mean, it's there are massive barriers involved in getting any young people, and especially people who are like, what? They got a shower? Where do I go to the bathroom? That's one of the biggest things, isn't it? Where do I go to the bathroom? But if you can get them out there, for the most part, not all of them, you're going to have lifelong outdoor people.
Yeah.
And we need more of that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because, shit, I love video games. I was awesome at Atari back in the day. I'm 51. No one plays Atari anymore? No. Not anymore. But, you know, back in the day.
Back in the day.
In the 80s, but, you know, I've never been a big gamer that stays up to 5 in the morning playing Call of Duty or anything like that. But I can see how that traps you. The gamers are going to hate me, and it traps you in a false reality. Whereas everything is really outdoors, you know? You know, there's no reset. You know, there's no, all right, I'll come back later. It's in your face. And even the people who go out there and they're like, oh, I don't like it at first. For the most part, they're like, yeah, I dig this.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, I got a question for you, Rob.
Go ahead.
So a continual theme on this show definitely has been diversity, right? Okay. To solve on that, have you guys considered, like, okay, how do we break through that? And then have you guys started looking for maybe strategic partnerships with, you know, other organizations, other groups to try to help fuel that? If you could talk about that maybe a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, there's a ton I can talk about. I'll talk about something that's going to come out this September. So we're partnering with Teresa Baker, I talked about before, from the Solidarity Project, as well as Jose Gonzalez he's the founder of Latino Outdoors. And last but not least is Karen Ramos, also known as Nature Chola. So we're coming out with some lifestyle bags, you know, some hip packs, a hiker satchel, which was designed by Jose Gonzalez. Half of the proceeds are going to go to Latino Outdoors. That's one of several that we're doing.
Smart.
You know, and I'm not, you know, I realize that this is not going to take me to the next level within it financially. I mean, they're going to be small programs, but these are the catalysts for what sells, so to speak, you know, for our backpacks. And it's just another example how Granite Gear is walking the walk, you know, and that's what it's about. It's about action. It's about, you know, this hot minute, it's a freaking pain in my butt every week. It takes a lot of work. And like, I had people like, hey, let's just do it once a month. I'm like, no, not at least until we get a year in. You know, we said we're going to do this. We're going to do it to the end. So it was, you know, it was an obligation at the end, both moral and just self-serving, because I had to do it.
Yeah. What I like about your answer is, you know, if you can't grow it internally, look for those partnerships. You know, reach out to people that you want to understand better and collaborate with on special projects. I think that's a wonderful way to do it.
Absolutely. And yeah, we do that, you know, with different artists from different communities and different ways. So, yeah.
I was just going to say what's cool about what you're sharing with us, Rob, and you know, and again, getting back to the basis of it's about marketing, but you're talking about the bubble, and we're talking about the barriers to get outside, whether it's, you know, there's barriers people just can't because it's the wall is there and they can't get over it, or it's because, you know, there's just kids who aren't, you know, they're just not being exposed to it. But what I like about all of this somehow glued together in a very weird way that somehow makes sense. It gets back to marketing 101 and why I think it works for you. And you kind of answered it a number of different ways. You know, it's like, yeah, there might be a bubble, but at the end of the day, you know, it's like, I think about what you're doing. It's not about just getting people to use your brand. You're trying to get people to believe in your brand, because once they use, you know, if they just use your brand and if we're happy with that, you walk away. But if they believe in your brand, despite the bubble, despite us trying to get more people outside, I mean, that's the pot, you know, at the end of the rainbow, and that's what you're doing. And I think a lot of brands forget about that. And all of these things you're doing are kind of building that belief in that community that people want to be a part of what you're doing here.
Yeah, I hate to use the term building blocks, but it is. And, you know, sometimes you go, why are we doing this one thing? Oh, okay, because it's part of the entirety.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So Rob, as we look into the crystal ball, if you will, that's, obviously 2020, we know what 2020 was, and obviously, I think the outdoor industry has thrived, but now as we kind of come to an end, as we look at the crystal ball, maybe as we close up here, tell us what you see on the horizon, whether it's on the horizon for Granite Gear or on the horizon for the industry or both, but kind of like, where are we going? What's next?
Boy, that's a very
have another sip of that.
I mean, where Granite Gear is going is we expect to be a $5 billion company in 2 years.
Wow.
We're currently about 8 million, so that's going to be difficult. But I think with this podcast, it should at least take us to the first billion.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, I don't have nearly enough product to make it to $1 billion, so you guys got to start sewing. I don't remember what the question was right. What's next for us? Well, there's a bunch of things we're doing new. We're expanding and getting away from just the messaging. Let's talk about product for 1 second, because I never wanted to get lost that, product is a priority here, and it's always been, and it's always will. We just launched a new, they're smart. We launched a new all waterproof portage pack and zip sack line that we have a exclusive with REI, which has been doing awesome. Obviously, we didn't see this whole paddling, explosion when we decided to come out with these, but it's worked out perfect. But I think the future with Granite Gear, and that what's going to take us to the level of some of the other more inline brands that you see at REI out there, is a continuance of what we're doing. But really what we were just talking about there is more lifestyle product, more meaningful, truly meaningful lifestyle product out there. Like we said, partnering with different organizations. That's brand development, right?
Yeah.
I love to go to the... Have you three been to the Boundary Waters?
I have not.
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you, what I like to say is we're the Osprey of the Boundary Waters, because everybody you pass has a Granite Gear portage pack on their back. Very small market, though. But we hit it right with some new product there. And our portage pack businesses, we can't keep it in stock.
Yeah.
My biggest, and we're talking about just initial, my biggest worry right now is just keeping that supply chain going, which is, as I'm sure you heard from a lot of your partners out there, is the worst I've ever seen in my life. As far as lead times, shipping rates, getting containers, getting, and then clearing the yards. I mean, everything is taking, back in the day, it was like, okay, it's 30 days. A container from Asia to here, but really you get it in 25. Now 45 is good. You're looking at 60.
Wow.
Wait,
it's tough to manage.
Rob, how long are you looking at? 60 plus, you said?
In some cases. And then we'll get the random container that is like, oh, it's released and we're getting it in 35 days. And you're like, what's going on here? There's it's a roller coaster ride. And obviously, when we usually plug in pricing a certain freight rate, my God, that's almost tripled in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't know why I went there.
That's all right.
That's the future. That's the future.
However, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're growing. We want to bring on new, exciting young employees to help drive that. And again, you're talking about empathy. It's my whole career. Every time I've been anywhere, my number one attribute is passion. I am freaking passionate about everything I love in life. And I love this brand. And I love the people working for it. And I believe in the message. And I believe in our history and our home in the Midwest. It's, again, I've never been prouder or poorer than I am right now.
You know what though, Rob? I just wish that enthusiasm. I wish your enthusiasm came through a little bit more. It's a shame,
right?
That you're so reserved.
Yeah. One of these days, Rob.
Yeah. One of these days, yeah. I'm going through.
That's why we wanted you on, because you know, we've had a chance to, I guess, to wrap up here. We've had a chance to. We've only known you for a few years, but you don't really have to know someone a very long time to figure them out. It's not like we need to know you for 20. I mean, we got a taste of you, and your passion came out loud and clear. I don't question that. We don't question that. We see what your brand is doing. We've seen it up front, close. And we feel it this way too. You support a lot of the things that we believe in. I know that you're a big supporter of the Ice Age Trail Alliance and the Ice Age National Scenic Trail, as are we. And you're proud of the Midwest, and so are we. And I on behalf of the group, I'm so glad you came on to join us, and I hope you come back sometime.
I will always come back. I got one more question, Kurt. You said the word advertisement early. Advertisement?
That's old school.
Well, now you're gonna.
English. That is English. Advertisements here.
Ads.
Yeah, advertisements is here, sir.
Like
ads. Advertisement.
Oh, we're coming out with a new advertisements.
It's a little bit more classy sounding. That's why.
I try to, Rob, I'm trying to class up the joint as we close up here. You know, it's kind of like I'm going to put a little nice polish on it. But
Rob, how can people get a hold of you?
Yes.
If they want to talk to you, they want to buy product, they want to learn about your product, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Call you three. No. I'll tell you right now, you want to email me? It's rob@granitegear.com.
Put it in.
Or info@granitegear.com, or hit us up on Instagram. That's, our main social media outlet. Follow us, learn about it, watch our show. We do it every Wednesday at 3 p.m. We're going to have Liz Snorkel Thomas next week, one of the biggest thru hikers and Asian American. Yeah. It is AAPI month. Did you know that? Yeah. So we're going to be featuring a couple different. Actually, one time this month, we're going to have a takeover where Tyler Lau is a hiking prodigy. This guy, do you know Tyler?
No.
He hiked all 3 long trails: Appalachian Trail, Continental Divide Trail, Pacific Crest Trail in 1 year, in one calendar year.
1 year. Wow.
1 year. Absolutely insane.
Wow.
He's an incredible kid. Well, he's not a kid. I keep saying kid. That's bad. But I mean, he's a great guy, and he's going to be hosting, and probably going to do like we're going to use the Reels, as it's called. We're going to do an Instagram Reels and have 4 different, and he's going to run it. I'm not even going to be a part of it. Okay.
Cool. We'll be sure to plug it.
Follow us on Instagram and watch our Hot Minute. You will not be disappointed.
Cool. We'll put all that info at the end of this.
All that in there. We'll also put in the groundskeepers. We want people to know about that great program. We're going to put it all in the credits so people can find you, learn more about you. And if you're ever up in Wisconsin and you're on the Ice Age Trail, give us a holler. We'll join you for a hike and we'll talk more, because I think it'd be we'd have a lot of fun. So with that said, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Rob.
Cheers.
Celtic.
Cilantro.
Celtic. Hail, hail, Celtic. I'm out. Thanks, Rob. Cheers.
Be good, fellas.
You too.